Hello everyone, today I'm going to be installing a new air filter and trying to make a cold air intake on my 2016 Ford Expedition. So I've got this part here, this little tube, and I've got a K&N filter here that I'm going to install on this, and I've already drilled this and put this piece in it, so hopefully we can get this sensor in there, but I'll go ahead and show how I did that. So here's my tubing that I've got, and I've also got this that I'm going to put in there for that sensor. Here's the part number for this, 9712, and the part number for that is 9509. It says to use that hole saw, but I'm sure I've got one that will work just fine. So we're gonna go ahead and drill a hole in this. Okay, so I used a 5/8 wood bit, and it drilled through this just fine. So now we just gotta clean this all up, get all the burrs off that we can, so this is ready to connect to everything else. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and start disassembling this air box. For the sensor right here, you just kind of pull it this way, and that to get that little arm up over that ledge, and then twist it that way, and it pulls straight out. So now we've got that out. We can go ahead and unscrew this. Okay, so now that we've got those disconnected, there's 3 little clamps right here that you undo. Lift up on this side, and it's got slots that go in over here. You just pull those out, and this whole top part comes out. So here's the old filter. We'll go ahead and get this out of the way. And we're gonna go ahead and leave this bottom section. So now I'm gonna go ahead and slide this on into here. All right, so we got that. We gotta go ahead and make sure that we can get the sensor in here. Okay, so I got it in there far enough, I think. I don't think it's gonna come back out, but we'll see. You might want to get one that's maybe a little bit wider, or you might take this back off and kind of make the rubber piece a little bit wider, drill into the actual rubber piece a little bit to make this fit a little bit better. But for right now, I think it's fine. I'm gonna leave it like that. So now we're gonna go ahead and install this filter. So we're just gonna slide this over that tube. Okay, so there we go. I've got this installed. I've got both these clamps tightened down. I don't think this is gonna go anywhere. I think it's in there far enough, and I don't think that really anything's gonna get past there. So obviously probably want to get something that's a little bit bigger to fit this sensor in there, and maybe a little bit of longer tube. I would have liked to have this filter like sit in here a little bit more. I mean, you can stretch it out and it'll fit in there, but I don't really know if I want to have it stretched all the time. Over time it might tear. So those are probably the 2 big things that I've noticed so far, but I think it'll all work okay. And obviously we're probably going to want to have at least some kind of barrier between this coolant reservoir and the filter, because it's full to get real hot. But this was just driven as just kind of warm, but I'm sure if while you're driving it will probably get pretty hot right in this area. One thing that I was thinking about, but I don't really want to do it with this, is you could, what I've seen online, the heat shields, they're basically like this shape, so you could probably just cut this top piece off here, like cut all around here, and cut this tube off, and maybe cut like a section over here to fit over that filter, and put some like foam pieces around here, and that would probably be a good enough heat shield right there. So maybe in the future, if you can find these at the junkyard, that would probably be a good option. But right now, I don't really want to tear this one up, and they're not really at the junkyard right now since they're only a few years old. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this up and see if there are any check engine lights, and probably going to drive it around tomorrow, and we'll see how it does after a day of driving. So we'll check back in later. Okay, so it's been a couple days now. I got this in there a little bit more. I used a knife to shave down some of the gasket on the inside to make it a little bit larger, to stick that in there further, and it's in there nice and snug now. It's not going to come out, but I probably would maybe use the 3/4 inch bit to open this up so that there's a little bit more room for that rubber gasket to expand in there, so maybe you won't have to shave some of it off on the inside. Anyway, I've got my little cold air shield mocked up here with some tape. I used some pipe insulation, you can get it at the hardware store. Just kind of mocked it up. So now I'm going to take this back off and glue it all together, so hopefully it looks a little bit nicer. But the biggest thing here is to reduce the restriction on the airflow. So that's the biggest thing that's going to give you more power and everything. You can also hear it a little bit more, the turbo, especially when you roll down the window. So as long as you just want to be able to make some more noise and make it sound a little bit cooler, I think this is worth it. There was a little bit of a increase in the fuel economy. I wouldn't say it's that great, not like it was on my Ford Escape, but it definitely does sound a lot better. So yeah, this is, I would definitely get a longer tube than this, 3.5 inches outside diameter. This is 4-inch length. I would maybe get a 5-inch length, because this does stretch out a little bit. So I think 5 inches would probably be just long enough, or 5.5. So yeah, that would, I'm gonna go ahead and glue this all together and then put this back on. So here you go. Here's a cheap way to make a cold air intake for your Ford Expedition. Hopefully this little heat shield here makes everyone happy that it's not sucking in as much hot air from the engine bay, even though the biggest thing here is unrestricted airflow, and air temperature does not really make that much of a difference as airflow does. But anyway, here's a cheap little heat shield that I made up. I know it looks pretty silly, but it should do the job. All in all this is under $150, which is half as much as what a kit costs for this right now. So biggest thing that I would do differently, longer pipe here and a bigger seal right here so that we can stick that sensor in a little bit more. But this is going to work just fine. I've driven around a couple days and it's not gone anywhere, and I've not had any issues with it. So there it is.